I thought I'd show you guys what I'm doing today. As some of you know, once a year we order meat. That's how we buy our meat in bulk, saving on the groceries throughout the year. Tomorrow I'm having, oh my goodness, 400 pounds of beef delivered and about 200 pounds of pork. So I'm trying to get my freezers cleaned out and process things, but one thing I do always request is the soup bones when they process the meat. So I utilize those. I'm gonna make bone broth. So I'll show you how I do that. Right now I'm just prepping everything, but let me show you how I make the bone broth, and then I can it. That way it's shelf stable, and then I have broth for whenever I need it. So I've got the meat all laid out. This is about 10 pounds of bones with the meat on it. So I will process it, starting the oven. And so I peeled the onions, and I'm just going to quarter them up because you want them in big chunks when you have them on the pan roasting. I will actually make the bone broth in the pressure cooker, but you need to roast the beef first. So I got the onions chopped, and I'm just gonna spread them out on here. I got my carrots on there. The only thing I did with the carrots is cut the ends off, and then I rinsed them. I'm not too worried about peeling them because these carrots will actually go in with our homemade dog food, and they don't care if they're peeled or not. They just get mashed up in there. So it works out, and we're not wasting anything. So this is what it looks like when I'm putting it in the oven. This will go on 450 for about an hour. Every 15 minutes I will come in and turn it. That way it's not getting more done on one side than the other. The point is just to kind of glaze it and sear some of the meat. There is a lot of meat, looks like, on these bones that they gave me, so I'm going to peel that off and use that for a dinner. So I will show you the next step. So I've got all of these bones seared off, and they're roasted. They sat for an hour. The meat's not quite done. It's still hard to pull off. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my pressure cookers with the meat on there. And then after it cooks down for a couple hours, making the bone broth, then I will take the leftover meat and put that aside. So I got my 8-quart pressure cooker pot and my 6-quart filled with the bones. I still have the meat on there. I put the onions and the carrots in there, and then I'm gonna add some thyme. This is the one I actually got from Ruby's Pantry. So I'm gonna put a couple sprigs in each one. This one is bigger, so it's gonna get more. This helps the flavor have a little bit more depth. And then we're going to put 1 bay leaf in each, and then I will fill them with water, and then they will pressure cook for about 2 hours. I have them both set, so they'll go about for 2 hours, and then they'll do a slow release, and then I will pull them out, and then I will need to place them in a bowl in the fridge overnight after I strain them. That way any fats or anything solidifies, and I'm able to scrape that off before I can it. So I got the bones out of both pressure cookers here. I have a pan with a colander, and then I took some cheesecloth and lined the colander because it catches all these bits of the thyme. And most of the meat just fell off during the cooking process. This is all bones. I have this huge Pioneer Woman bowl full of bones. So like, you can just tell they just crumble apart. And that's how you want it. And that's how you get your broth really good. So what I'm doing now is just strain the rest of this. That's what the broth looks like, still hot. It's literally filled my pot. So I'm going to finish letting this strain, and then I am going to place the pot in the fridge overnight That way all the fats and stuff can congeal at the top, and I can just scrape it off before I can it to get rid of all of that. That way it's just pretty clean bone broth. So I thought I'd show you how this looks. You can see the fat kind of mixed in while it's hot. So once it gets solid and solidifies on the top, after it's cooled off, because it is super hot right now, but this will be bone broth for soups, stews, bases, and recipes. I use it for all kinds of stuff, but this is how I help stretch the budget. So I let this sit overnight. Now I'm gonna pull this layer of the fat off. That way I'm not canning any of that. And you end up with this nice bone broth underneath that's just gels up really nicely. So I ended up with 5 quarts and 1 pint of the bone broth, beef bone broth. This is all the fat I pulled off. Yuck. So good thing there is going to be some particles in here, but when it sits on the shelf after I process it, it will rise to the top, and then I'll just scrape that off when I open it before I use it. So that's not a big deal if you still have some stragglers in there. So now I'm going to take my deep bubbler, just kind of go around the edges and get any loose bubbles off of all these, and then I'm going to take vinegar on a paper towel and wipe down the tops, and then put the lids on, and then I'm gonna get my pressure canner ready to get this going. So I finished canning all these. I'm just letting them cool, and then they'll be shelf stable. So I got, like I said, 5 quarts, 1 pint, and they'll be ready to use. And I'm getting more meat today, so I'll have more bones to make some more, so I'll be stocked up for a while. So the reason why I make my own bone broth, yeah, you can buy it at the store, $1, $2, whatever. But when I buy my meat in bulk, I'm paying for the bones. I'm paying for the fat. I'm paying for all of it. So I choose to take those bones and make whatever bone broth I can get from it and utilize that money. So instead of buying it from the store, I'm saving that money and putting it up for, you know, other food items or family fun things. So that's ways that we save money on food. We're utilizing everything possible. I should be expecting my meat today. So I ordered, I did request all the bones, all the fat, because I'm gonna make beef tallow. I'm going to render down the pork, use that for frying. Some other things, the beef tallow I might use in some beauty products, I'm not sure, or soap making. But this is ways that I utilize every part. That's how I utilize every part and save money and just be frugal. There's no reason not to. It is time consuming, but that's okay. I just carve out time to get it done. It's not hard to do. It just is a process. So yeah, that's how I make my bone broth.